Oh, here we are. Man, oh, man. It didn't take long to get the biggest win of the Fran Brown era. I guess everyone so far has been. There's only been two. 31-28 over Georgia Tech today. The Orange, wild first half, build a lead in the second half, and then hang on down the stretch. Made a couple nice plays. Kyle McCord, Aronde Gadsden, LaQuinn Allen on the final drive to seal it. And the Orange are 2-0. You heard the phone number. Phones are open here throughout our hour together at 315-437-7644 or DWITom.com hotline. Fran Brown press conference coming 20-ish minutes or so away. Brian Higgins, Don McPherson. Here we go, Don. Syracuse got a quarterback. I know that.
They have a quarterback, and defense stepped up, played more physical than last week. This is a pretty good football team.
Yeah, this is looking solid. Again, what do we know about this league? We don't know anything about this league right now. But why not? Why not Syracuse right now?
You know, this reminds me of the season when they won 10 games a few years back when the ACC was a weak conference. And right now, this league is wide open, and Syracuse is perfectly poised. Again, when Georgia Tech beat Florida State, everyone said, well, Florida State's not the team they thought they were. And then Georgia Tech wins another game, and they become one of the better teams in the league, ranked 23rd, coming into Syracuse. And Syracuse, in so many ways, even though the score doesn't dictate it, really did dominate most of this football game.
Yeah, it was. It's going. I mean, they gained a ton of yards. The total yardage in the game ended up Syracuse at 515 yards of total offense, about 150 clear of what Georgia Tech did during the game. But I know we heard the idea all offseason about physical team, and we're going to pound the ball. And LaQuinn Allen. The quarterback's the best player. Like Kyle McCord's the real deal, man. And we're seeing you got to let him sling it around.
All I could think of was Nick Saban's quote from last week where he says, if you pay the wrong guys, you're out of luck, right?
When you pay the right guy.
When you pay the right guy, you've got the right guy. And what they have in Kyle McCord is not just a veteran quarterback who can sling it, but he's like another coach in the field. And I think Fran Brown said this during
halftime.
At halftime. He's making really smart decisions with the football. And you have to credit Jeff Nixon with the play selection. But Kyle McCord is doing some really smart things with the ball. He's being very conservative. When I say conservative, I think he's taking what they give him. He's reading defenses really, really well.
They're running ish an NFL offense. This is not a college football ride and decide, the kind of stuff that we've grown used to recently. We see him under center every now and again. There's a lot of play action. You have an NFL tight end, Aronde Gadsden, and you clearly have a smart operator, right? That's what it takes to make this work.
And I mentioned Jeff Nixon coming from the NFL, so he has that mentality. And this is, for years, since 1980 when the Dome was built, everyone kept saying this should be the place where you get a quarterback, you get a kicking game, you get the kind of players that can play in a weather-controlled environment, throw the heck out of the football. And now, I think for the first time in a long time, we see a team that is perfectly suited for the talent that they have on the field.
They got the quarterback. The kicking game we'll get to later. That was a grease fire.
Or maybe we shouldn't talk about
I don't know. That you're talking about how do you almost lose a game that all that stuff happened in? Special teams, all three phases. The third phase was a little wonky. We'll save that here for a little bit. But McCord was fantastic. And then, man, Gadsden's really good. Trevor Pena, who nobody saw this guy. Trevor did maybe. Fran Brown said he did. Right. The rest of us, okay.
Exactly.
Good on you. He's got 5 touchdowns in 2 games. We saw Zeed Haynes. We saw them spread it all over the lot today.
Spread it all over the lot. As I said a moment ago, there were times when they played that cover 2, and Kyle McCord found Trevor right in the seam. You see the control play where they really needed Gadsden, the big wide shoulder guy, to show him your numbers and get the first down. He's spreading the ball around in a really smart way. I've been very impressed with how he threw the ball today. And I go back to Trevor, to Jeff Nixon and the play selection perfectly. One thing Kyle McCord did. And for any young quarterback out there, you want to see a guy stay cool. He had pressure coming from the secondary. He didn't panic. He backed up away from the pressure, unblocked, coming from space, and delivered the ball knowing he had a hot receiver. That's a veteran quarterback move, to know he had a guy unblocked, but he can move his feet, buy himself some time, and find the open receiver.
I bet if we ask Kyle after the game here, when people get him at the press conference, I bet his favorite play is going to be when he looked like Don McPherson and got a little scoot there around the edge. He spiked the ball the whole thing.
He spiked the ball. I was afraid they might throw a penalty on that. You know what? That will be the play he talks about. That will be the play he'll say, hey, give me the ball more. Give me the ball more. He wants to scoop. But he seems to be, to me, a perfect drop back pocket quarterback, pro-style quarterback, who's not going to do that very often, only when he has to.
He's told me multiple times he's upset about his speed rating in the college football video game, so maybe he gets a little bump out of that. But then, okay, we saw some, we saw that little option that picked up a first down. We, saw some kind of cute stuff throughout the game. Now we get to the last drive. 3rd and 10. Where does it go? Gadsden.
Yep,
Next play, LeQuinn out. Like, when it got down to it, we're like, here's our guys. Let's put the ball in our best guys' hands.
And that's when the team and I go back to some of the decisions by Fran Brown. We're going to talk about Fran Brown, the game that he called today, going forward on 4th down twice and getting it. That shows a confidence, to your point, in your guys. It shows a confidence in the guys that can go out there and make plays when it's time to make a play. All
right, we're going to talk a lot of offense. McCord was fantastic today. At halftime, he was on pace for 500. He only threw for 381, the 13th most in a single game in school history. He's gone 354, 381, and 8 passing touchdowns in 2 games at Syracuse. I don't need to look this up, Don. Nobody's done that before. I'm not going to look it up. Nobody's done that before in their first 2 games.
And I think the other thing that you pointed out is that he spread the ball around.
Yeah.
You can't say that, although Pena certainly is starting to show himself to be the go-to guy, he certainly is spreading the ball around to all of his receivers.
Yeah. It's been to watch. On defense, all right, last week was a little nervous, right? Like, the run defense got gashed repeatedly. This week, the first half, you missed some tackles on Haynes King. He gets out on you on the first time. Second half, they were buttoned up, man. Like that, we've seen adjustments now throughout the season in 2 games.
One thing that is very encouraging to see in this football team is how they respond to early season problems. You lose Marla Wax, and you get criticized for not being physical.
Yeah.
If you don't take that personal as a defense, if you don't say that guys have to step up and you take that knock of not being physical enough on defense and step up your game, which they did, and I thought they played very tough up front, very good in the trenches, I think they took the criticism and the loss of Marla Wax personal.
We heard Fran Brown throughout the week, right? Like, you heard what Brent Key said about this is going to be a physical game. Fran's answer was basically, oh, really, is it?
And exactly. And both teams have the same mandate. Both teams need to play more physical, and Syracuse stepped up and definitely won that battle.
What can this do here? New coach, new era, half the team's new. Now you got a bye week, which is kind of weird early in the season.
Yes, it is.
What does this do? Locker room, vibes, positivity, all that stuff now.
We talked about this last week. With all that is new, they weren't going to learn a lot about each other until game time.
Yeah.
And so last week they came out, again, maybe an inferior opponent. They learned how to defense. The offense did exactly what we saw last week. They were consistent across the board, throwing the football. Now they have a bye week. And I will tell you one thing. The special teams, and we'll talk about this, the special teams problems become such a distraction, especially for a head coach.
Yeah.
Because now he's got to get to the guys who aren't full-time starters. He's got to get to the coaches who might think they're flying under the radar. Because everybody's talking about Kyle McCord, everybody's talking about Marla Wax and all the other stars on the other 2 sides of the ball, but they're not talking about the kicking game. That's going to take up some time. Fortunately, they have a week to work on all those minor details in the kick game. But this week off is going to be really good for this team. They're going to have a lot of confidence. They're going to have a chance to sit back and watch the rest of the conference play and realize that they've got a shot at this conference.
They'll get, people were asking me today, are they going to be ranked? Are they not going to be ranked? They'll get some votes this week. Like, this will get you, on the radar. And now you got, off week, Stanford, who's not great right now, and then Holy Cross. Like, in theory now we're projecting, in theory, you should be 4-0 by the end of the month, and now you can start talking about some stuff. But it's getting interesting, and I find this, okay, it's 31-14. It's like, oh, we're cruising. Then it turns into what it turned into, 31-28. You give up the onside kick. Now you're thinking back at the 2 block kicks. Not that you want to put the game in jeopardy, though McCord and Gadsden and LeQuinn made the plays to win it. It kind of gives Fran Wright a little leg to stand on when you're like, hey, all this other stuff that I'm going to tell you about, look how important it almost just was.
I'm a pollster for the National Football Foundation, and they will get votes, and they will get closer to being ranked. There's going to be a lot of people across the country who are going to be talking about them. Kyle McCord's numbers are off the chart. It's going to say this guy is legit. He's for real. They're going to harken back to where he was a year ago at Ohio State. There's going to be a lot of buzz around this team, and it's impossible to shield guys from it with social media the way that it is that they are a hot football team right now. You got to give it to them. That said, you're going to have Fran Brown who's going to harp on the fact that we squandered a lead and made it really close in the end, and special teams was awful. And so those are the two things that allows him to put his foot back on the neck of his players and say, don't get yourselves too cocky, don't get yourselves ahead of yourself. We still have a lot of work to do.
Their whole day next week where they do special teams for 3 hours. That'll be a fun one. That'll be a fun one. But, man, it's a nice win. Georgia Tech was were they the 23rd best team in the country? Who cares? Syracuse just beat a ranked team.
Yep.
And that is, I know we're watching every second. How the country is going to take this in is Syracuse just beat a ranked team today.
They beat a ranked team that was in conference.
Yeah.
So important right now. So that puts them, when the rankings come out, they're going to be at the top of the conferences. They're going to see themselves
They're 1-0.
At the top. And so
Florida State's still at the bottom.
Florida State's still at the bottom, exactly. So they're going to be, again, a lot of excitement is going to be around this team, and keeping them level-headed. The bye week is really important for them to get refocused, get healthy, and get that kicking game in order.
All right, fantastic. Fun game to watch today. I think it was kind of as we planned. I hit the exact final score. I got the teams wrong, so I'll take the L. I'll take the L on that because Syracuse got the win. But a competitive game, ended up interesting at the end. And then McCord, Gadsden, LeQuint, 3 big plays. Well, 2 big plays, 3 involved. Last 2 essential plays of the game to lock it up for the Orange. All right, let's take a break now to make sure we're on time for Fran Brown's press conference coming up, brought to you by William Mattar. Phone lines open as always, 315-437-7644. We're back at our Burdick Ford, Burdick Toyota, Burdick Lexus, and Burdick BMW postgame show. After this, we're at Myers Creek in the Inner Harbor at the Tap Room on Q Sports Talk at ESPN Radio. Oh, chat. What's up, chat? Well, Thompson on McCord's Heisman odds. No, Pena's got 5 touchdowns in 2 games. That'll get you to New York. Well, we've booked rooms already for Trevor. That's how we're doing it. Yeah, the onside kick. Yeah, the onside kick did skew everything Jake said, but my goodness, did it ever? Did it ever skew it?
Yeah.
Funny, it's Sheamus instead of Roman Reigns did play for them. That is a good point. Cuse is in the house, but they were in Ireland. They had to get the Irish guy. That's why Sheamus was there. They were in Ireland. You can't force it, Jigs Dad. I will yell Fran Brown when it's appropriate to yell Fran Brown. Oh man. That was today, San Diego Cuse. This was the 13th best yardage game of all time today.
13th?
13th. I thought he was going for the record there. The record is where did I put it? You didn't get to throw the ball enough, Donnie. You're not high on these single game list.
No, you know what? I was still.
You had like one big one, right?
I had one big one. I was still.
Here you are. You had a 336 against the Penn State game.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that was a big game to have it in.
Yeah.
Well, you had 80 on the first play. That helps. That'll get you. That'll get you.
After that, we just nickel and dime them.
You were on pace for a million. Like you had 80 10 seconds into the freaking game.
That's right.
That's a good pace.
That was a good pace.
Yeah, the record's right. Ryan Nassib at a 482 is a loss. Actually,
I was about to say it's got to be a Nassib game.
The first two on here are losses. Nassib at 42. Mahoney went 440 in that crazy Pittsburgh game.
That was the Pitt game.
Yeah.
Golly.
Dungy's last regular season game, he dropped 434 on Boston College. Oh no, that wasn't the last. That was his sophomore year. Dungy did some weird stuff to BC over his career. He created some beef with them and took it out on them. That was the game he almost got thrown out. He should have gotten thrown out in the second play of the game because he basically started a fight on the sideline.
He was a beast.
They didn't throw him out, and then he threw for 400 yards. All right, you know the phone number, or we potentially have a chance to sneak in a call now. We're expecting Fran Brown's press conference sooner than later. We'll get to it sometime this segment. We're anticipating it'll be slightly faster to the press conference after win 2 than win 1. There's a lot less first you got to go through.
He's getting his sea legs under him, as they say.
That and, I'd say fortunately, last week he had to spend, his star linebacker got hurt. He had to spend some time with Marlowe and the fam. So I think I didn't notice any serious injuries during the game. I didn't really notice any unserious injuries either during the game. So you're healthy. You're 2-0. You're feeling good. We were just looking at some of the all-time passing lists, Don, during the break, and Ryan Nassib holds the record for now, 482 yards in a single game. Wouldn't be surprised. I mean, I realize that's a lot of yards, but based on what McCord's doing, if you get into a true 60-minute shootout sometime this year, I wouldn't bet against it.
And you look at some of the opponents that they have, like Holy Cross and a few others, and even UConn that are struggling. Those are games where he can put up some big numbers, although those are games where you wonder whether or not he should be playing a full football game.
Right.
Putting up these kinds of numbers against Georgia Tech is really impressive.
No, Georgia Tech's a solid team, and again, we got no clue what's going on in the ACC right now. We think Miami's good, Georgia Tech's decent, Syracuse might be good, Louisville. I don't know what's going on, but I know Syracuse has played one ACC game and they've won it.
I think exactly, and I think you're seeing also the impact of transfer and these teams that aren't exactly what they were in December of last year. And so you're seeing a whole different reconstitution of a lot of these football teams. So it's going to take them some time to get some identity. I think the teams that settle into who they are as a team earlier, as we've been saying in this era of transfer, those are the teams that are going to look good in September. And the other teams also that have to find a way to make their way through adversity as they get into October and things don't always go the way they want them to do, like injuries to Marlon Wax, like problems on special teams. Yeah. How do you settle into and solve those problems?
It's fascinating to look at all this come together. And you mentioned the portal. And obviously, a decent chunk of Syracuse's team is the portal. Big contributors, including the starting quarterback. I forget the exact number, but it's 60-some odd % of Power 4 starting quarterbacks are portal guys.
Right.
They don't all settle in right away. The fact that McCord has looked really comfortable out the chute here in the first two games is huge for this season, especially only got him the 1 year.
Yeah, and they got him early in the portal, so they got him early in the process.
Had the full spring,
and a lot of time with his receivers. The one thing that they benefited from was having the indoor facility and having those guys together. And if you've been here in Syracuse, you watch the news and you see it on social media. Those guys were together an awful lot. Mm-hmm. They spent a lot of time together, and they got that nucleus of receivers and LaQuint Allen included in that mix early on in the process, and it's very clear that they have a very good rapport with one another.
Does it help too? I mean, sometimes the quarterback battle's interesting. They do get it was not in doubt for a second. He showed up. It's I am the starting quarterback. I'm in charge of this. Let's go.
And not only was it the lack of the competition, it was also sort of the coronation by Fran Brown and by everyone else. This is the guy. Yeah. As this guy goes, this is his team. It was his team the minute he got off the plane or got off on 81 onto campus. It was his team.
I liked it. You referenced his halftime interview on ACC Network earlier today, and he got asked whatever question was by Coley Harvey, what's working right, blah blah blah. In the first half, he's Kyle McCord.
Yeah, and I'll tell you, I'm very impressed with how Fran Brown has managed the offseason, coming in as first-time head coach, managing all the NIL stuff and all the transfer stuff, doing the things that made him the guy that they wanted in recruiting. But the way that he's managed his football game, the last 2 games, I've been really impressed with how he's managed the games, and that's the thing that we wanted to know. Now we're going to see how he manages a bye week and keeping his team level-headed. I think, everything I've seen from this guy so far, I think he's going to do a really nice job as this season progresses and he matures as a head football coach. All
right, let's hit the phone lines here on our DWITom.com hotline. We'll start it off with our guy Vito in Liverpool. Vito, hoops doesn't start for months. What's going on, my guy Vito? Good to hear you.
Yeah, you can't avoid the excitement, though, man. I mean, what a difference the coach makes and his quarterback is unbelievable. I do want to say there's a lot of feedback on fighting the guy and chucking it out. But inside linebackers are failing a little bit with these making these long runs up the middle. I tend to believe that they're running routes on offense, the other side, to kind of pull their linebackers out of the middle, and their quarterback was just running up the holes, making those big plays for touchdowns. So that kind of worries me on defense. What are your thoughts on why the quarterback was able to just make those long runs? Because he's not a Lamar Jackson.
He's not a Lamar Jackson, but he was an outstanding running quarterback. Don't get it twisted. Haynes King came into this game as a threat, and we knew this. We talked about this on Thursday. Mm-hmm. They had to contain this guy, and in the first half, that's where he scored. He scored on design runs. He's a great runner. They had when you have a quarterback who can do the design run between the tackles, that's really, really hard to defend. Yeah. And you have to give credit to the secondary. They kept him in the pocket a few times. But I have to say that you have to give credit to Haynes King and a pretty good offensive attack by Georgia Tech that this is the team, again, that beat Florida State with this guy running the football. He's a good runner.
Now, are they going
to
red shirt Yassine Willis?
Oh, you're way above our pay grade.
He didn't. Did he not play today? No, I don't think so. I mean, he played last week, Vito, and he's. I don't think so. I'm going to guess he didn't play today just because Will Nixon kind of had it going, and Will clearly has assumed the number 2 role. Vito, thanks as always for the call, Vito. I doubt it just because Fran has spoken so highly of him, and if you're a guy like that, that's he's the third running back. You don't redshirt your third running back. And in this day and age, portal, I don't think you go out of your way to redshirt guys anymore.
No, you want to keep guys happy. You want to let them feel like they're in your future plans.
Yeah, I think it's more Will Nixon. I think a lot of people, when Will Nixon transferred in, you're like, oh, the coach's kid, that's nice. And then you do a little more. You're like, wait a minute. He was the backup running back for Washington last year.
Yeah.
They were in the national. He ran for 6.5 yards a carry for Washington last year.
Yes.
He's a solid football player.
He's a good football. And I was actually surprised when I saw him in there more than LaQuint Allen in the first half.
Yeah, that was interesting.
It was interesting, and you wonder what that's all about. But you also wonder, and I'm going to throw something out there. When you're now all of a sudden paying guys in NIL, you're going to want to keep them happy. You're going to want to justify the investment. You're going to want to justify the money that they're getting paid. You're going to say, hey, we're paying Kyle McCord a lot of money. Mm-hmm. He better go out there and throw the heck out of the football. And we're going to give him the chance to do so. And so you start to see the other game inside the game, to your point about transfer portal, to think about that, keeping guys happy, them touches on the football. To be happy in November when it comes time to think about the transfer portal or not.
I think Will should be happy though. His dad's the OC. That's a good gig. So I think he should be. I think he should be in a good mood. It's going pretty well for the Nixon family. Dad called a really nice game today, huh? We talk about mixing it up, like leaning on your bread and butter, but when you needed that little option, when it was all packed in tight, I'm like, ooh, the outside's wide open, and it was a perfect play call.
I thought the play selection was excellent, and I do think that Nixon called a great game. I think that Kyle McCord played a great game within the plays that were given to him.
Yeah.
have to give credit to the offensive line. I thought the offensive line played outstanding. They gave Kyle McCord the time he needed today. I thought they picked up pressure. Georgia Tech didn't do a lot of exotic things in the pressure game. I thought the offensive line played very well today.
I don't really recall him under pressure. They maybe once, like he had the one where he ran.
Yep.
It wasn't really under pressure. That was just the whole side of the field was open. They had the one where they rolled the pocket, but that was the play design.
And there may have been one sack in the first half.
Yeah, like he wasn't. Now, a lot of that, McCord does get the ball out quick, but that's what good quarterbacks are supposed to do.
And when he gets the ball out quick, I almost every time he got the ball out quick, I felt like it was going to be a completion. There's going to be a guy running wide open. I thought when he gets rid of the ball quick, he's very efficient and he's very accurate.
Yeah, one sack, though. Just one
sack. That's what I thought.
You'll take that?
Yeah, I'll take one sack.
One sack, 4 touchdowns, no interceptions.
Yep.
Yeah, you'll take that.
And on that one sack, I thought it was pretty much a coverage sack, and the pocket just collapsed on him, and he didn't even try to get out of the pocket. So I thought, all in all, I thought the offensive line played really well in this game.
Obviously, the other side of O-line plays the run blocking. 4.2 yards a carry. That's not electric, but it's workmanlike. It's solid.
It is 27 first downs. I think that's the key, is that they were getting first downs. They're keeping the clock moving. Keeping the chains moving. Although, do they use chains anymore? Is everything electronic?
The chains are actually still there. That's shocking.
I'm glad. They keep it so I don't sound like an old man when I say they keep the chains moving.
That's who holds the chains.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly, the old man.
That's how we do that.
That's right. But they kept the chains moving, got first downs. I thought, as I mentioned a moment ago, the two fourth down calls that Fran Brown made, they got them both. Those are huge confidence builders for your offense to stay on the field, and we saw this a lot. I thought they wore down Georgia Tech's defense pretty good, and when you're getting first downs, that means your defense is on the sideline fresh.
And we saw in the second half, man, they came out. You get 3 and out to start the half, right? When it was like the way the first half ended with the blocked punt, you're like, there's a chance here. You're sitting there at that point. It's 21-14. Like, I'm looking at a blocked punt. There's enough time. Georgia Tech gets the ball. They might be losing the next time Kyle McCord has the ball. But it was still 21-7. I put the defense, like those two drives, end of half, beginning of half. Dabo Sweeney loves to call it the middle 8 minutes. That's his thing. Syracuse, save for getting the punt block, did pretty good in middle 8 minutes today.
You're exactly right. There were times when you knew they were dominating, you knew they were getting yards, they were getting first downs, but the score didn't indicate it. They hadn't really pulled away until that time, until they put up 31, that they hadn't really pulled away. But in every category, I thought they really played really well and dominated.
Yeah, I mean, it's every stat bears out that it was a larger one than 3. There was some, the plays led to it, but Syracuse controlled the ball.
And what we saw against Ohio, where Ohio possessed the ball for most of the first quarter last week, Syracuse did an excellent job. Had the ball total about 37 minutes, almost a full quarter more than Georgia Tech.
That's also a good way to get around your defense, not having Marlo Wax.
That's right. That's right. Get first downs.
Yeah.
Keep those guys on the sideline.
Yeah, when they don't have to play, it's even easier. And, last week, Don, we talked a lot, too, about last week. Marlo got hurt. Justin Barron got the green dot on his helmet, the communication helmet, and things got a little hectic. Mm-hmm. Justin still had the green dot today. I didn't have a feeling of hectic today. Week to get ready, it feels like that was a week well used.
We talked about this on Thursday, on your show on Thursday, that Marlon Wax was the translator. Right. He was the guy who had all the new guys coming in. He's the veteran. He's been here enough. He can translate everything that is SU football to all the new guys. And then you had Justin Barron, another veteran guy who can be a translator. So you didn't really lose a lot in the Lost in Translation. I don't even know if is that a movie or a book.
It was a movie.
It was a movie.
Yeah.
You didn't lose anything in translation.
Bill Murray?
I believe so.
I think it's a Bill Murray flick. I haven't seen it. I've heard it's
clearly
good.
I haven't seen it. I just know that sometimes things get lost in translation.
Yeah.
And with Justin Brown, you didn't lose anything. And so, and the other thing that it does for Justin Brown, we saw last week he had 2 just not smart, undisciplined
the late
mistakes.
hit. You just can't.
I think when you give a guy that added responsibility, he's a little bit more cognizant of his position as a leader and doing things the right way on the field.
I talked a lot this week, Don, like the key to this game being, all right, can you slow down Georgia Tech's rushing attack? Because if Syracuse was going to move the ball, it's the way they did it. Kyle McCord was going to sling it around, and he did. Georgia Tech was going to move the ball, they were going to run it. Syracuse gave up 250 last week. Georgia Tech was averaging like 207, 112.
Yeah.
112. You held them 90 yards below their average.
And I will say the one thing they did really well, especially in space, is that they tackled very well in space today. Yeah. There were times when Haynes King, I thought, did what you hope for your quarterback to do, even on a 3rd and long, he put the ball where the receiver was who was open, which meant it may be in the flat, giving a guy 5-6 yards to get the first down. Syracuse made those tackles in space. That was, I think, a big difference for this defense this week.
Yeah. The one comes to mind was when he got free of McDonald who made that nice play and scored the touchdown. It's probably a good sign that one comes to mind, right? And it's not like I can't pick.
Exactly. That was not very pretty. But again, Haynes King is a good running quarterback, and he only had one guy to beat.
Somebody in the chat asked what the attendance was today. Announced attendance today in the Dome, 39,550. I thought we were gonna get 40 this week. 39,550 this week. That'll be interesting to see. All right, there's been a buzz about town, right, Don? In many ways for close to 10 months now with Fran. Now you've seen it.
Yes.
Now you have a bye week to everyone to get a little, okay.
Yes.
Now you got a Friday night game coming up. Friday night games aren't always, I feel the Friday night crowds aren't necessarily always the biggest. People have things going on Friday night, but they're usually pretty intense. I'm intrigued to see what the crowd will be for Stanford in a couple weeks.
There's enough time and enough hype. The team needs to get focused on their issues.
Mm-hmm.
This is the time when the game needs to be promoted. That Friday night game needs to be promoted as a party, as happy hour, whatever it is that gets people to come out, because they're going to need a big crowd to make sure that Stanford makes that long trip across the country and comes here and sees a full Carrier Dome. Carrier Dome. You see how
this is how old you are, Don.
I'm dating myself.
Yes. The JMA Wireless Dome officially got to appease the sponsors here. Don, I can guarantee you this. I know one thing about Friday night games. Everything you just said, the students are aware of that. They're taken care of.
Yes.
They're good. We don't need. They'll figure that out. But
the state fair is done.
It is done.
And summer's over. People, it's fall. It's football season.
Yeah.
It's time to dial in for a Friday night game.
It's a Friday night. It's too dark out to go apple picking. I've heard on a Friday. Next week's a bye week. Wonderful weekend for apple picking.
Get your apple picking in next week.
You can get that all in beforehand. All right, we're hanging loose here until the Fran Brown press conference, which will bring you live both on the radio, ESPN Radio, and with moving pictures on QSportsTalk.com, is always presented by William Mattar, presumably starting. So we're still trying to get in the Fran Brown rhythm. I don't know what he's doing back there. I don't know what he does after the game. I don't know what's going on back there.
I think he's feeling pretty good about this football game.
I hope he should
be. And you can see how everyone talks about his relationship with the players, and he's a players guy. So I think he's enjoying this win right now and knowing that he's got a bye week and he doesn't have to get up tomorrow morning and be pressed for anything. So he doesn't know we're sitting here vamping waiting for him to come on.
I wonder if he'll even sleep in. I don't know if he's capable of a sleep in. I don't think Fran's got that. I don't think he's got that club in the bag.
He's not sleeping until next June.
Yeah, I don't think he's. He might not be sleeping until next June of like 2040.
Exactly.
I don't know. He's not a sleep-in guy. But man, big nice win today. Here, I'm curious. Here, there's some ACC action going on. Well, we'll get to that later because Fran Brown, as promised, press conference right now.
Everyone, I'll be up here, but first off, I want to just say hats off to Coach Key and his staff and his team. Haynes, their quarterback, is really good, so I'm just thankful that we had the opportunity to compete against them, and they did a good job, and I wish them safe travels going back home. Coach Mogridge, who's on that staff, and Coach Buster Faulkner, who I got a chance to coach with, we developed a good friendship, and I'm just very thankful that we got to play against those guys, and they competed all the way to the end. They were just a really good football team and a well-organized and well-prepared football team.
Question, we'll start right here in front of that way.
Fran, I know earlier in the week there's maybe some things that Key said that rubbed you maybe a little bit the wrong way. It might have sounded like. What was your conversation with him like after this game, and had that added fuel going into this game?
I mean, it did add fuel. He knew me, so it was just like I told him, I didn't know him. I was on the other side of the ball. I took that personal, and I took it personal when he talked about it wasn't about X's and O's. It was about coming up here being physical and tough for 4 hours. And we from the Northeast. Like, what you mean by that? Like we don't play football, like we're not physical and tough. I took that very personal. I took that personal because of what the S means. Syracuse has been physical forever, and I wanted to make sure that that will never be said about us. Like we're not soft, So that bothered me. It rubbed me the wrong way. And the T in Dart is for tough. So that's why.
Chris?
Daddy,
What's up?
I'm hungry.
Oh, you're hungry. Here, have this.
Fran, Fidel obviously played a lot at sort of the second level. What does that allow him to do? And when did you guys sort of decide that was going to be your approach today?
Coach E is a really brilliant when it comes to thinking. And we know they haven't faced that. We know they didn't practice against that. And we also felt as though Fidel was athletic enough and he's big. So it was a difference when most guys are getting hit by a 230-pound linebacker, but now you're getting hit by a 6'5", 265 who likes contact. So that's the part of it that was why we went and did that. Give me 1 second. You want to go see Mommy? Oh, go ahead. Can you make sure she walks down there, don't fall. He's fine. He's a nice person. I like that. See that? She ain't want to give her hand to a guy. We're starting off right. Yeah, but Fidel is just he's a physical, like he's a big dude, and he does the right thing when it comes to football, and he practiced really hard, and we felt as though let's let Fidel be the guy running those alleys and make those hits. And we knew Haynes knew him. They were at Texas A&M together. So it was like Haynes looking across, you know who he is. So now you go tell them like, oh snap. He probably didn't say that. He probably, oh snap, they got Fidel here. It's a difference looking at Fidel, especially when you lose Marlo Wax. And now in the next week, in the middle of our defense, you had to go be able to replace that with someone that would be able to almost be who Marlo is at linebacker. He's not a linebacker. It was for this defense, but we were able to replace Marlo for a quick weekend, being as though the other guys was able to still stay at their other spots.
Well, Mark and then Brad.
Hey, Coach. How you doing?
I'm good. How about you?
Good. So last week you said you wanted to send Ryan Day a bottle of champagne.
Yeah.
So
I told my wife she need to order it all, and that needs to go out fast.
So are you going to raise the ante? What do you want to send him today? And could you just talk about Kyle's performance? Can you just talk about Kyle's performance and his 16-yard scramble on 3rd and 3?
I mean, the 3rd and 3 scramble meant a lot to our program. Like I'm always telling Kyle in practice when he'll run inside, I'm cussing at him and chasing him. You should be running. You're afraid to run. I want to see the Little League Kyle McCord. I'm not looking for this college guy that you think. I want the Little League football player. So when he did that, that did something to the program. I don't know if you noticed, everybody went crazy because we know he can do that. I said, but you can't spike the ball, Kyle. You know what I mean? He can't do that. We got lucky. That should have been a flag. But it meant a lot for him to do that. And Kyle's a good player, and Kyle's a really good player. And I think he's showing that consistently. And I'm so thankful to have him. Like, God's amazing. I get the opportunity to coach that kid. So I'm thankful and blessed that he's here at Syracuse.
Brett next and Mario in back.
Fran, what kind of tests over here? What kind of tests did your team pass in the fourth quarter as Georgia Tech was driving up and almost made this a game here? It did make it a game, I should say.
It made it a game, but there's certain things that you want to do. Like, we weren't playing to stop the run. We were playing to try to keep the quarterback now in the pocket and do different things. So it's a different part of the game. It's the monotony of football. At the end of any game, when it gets close and it gets like that, you've seen that happen 1,000 times. Now we got to work on that. Special teams are going to touch the ball before it hits 10 yards. That's bad coaching on Fran Brown. Nobody else, not the special teams coach, not other than those guys. That's on me to be able to put the right guys in the right place. Our guys need to be able to be who they are. You got some guys that are ball guys, some guys that are blockers, and one of the blockers went for the football. So that's totally me, though. That's not those kids, so don't put that on them. But we needed that little test. I'm going to get the ball back, and then let's see what happens. And they got to show you that our defense is better than all you guys tried to say they were last week,
Mario, I'm back.
You talked about that physicality part, and one guy, all the way back, sorry. One guy being LaQuinn Allen. At the beginning of the year, you said he needed to be more physical. What did you see out of him today?
That LaQuinn needed to be more physical?
Yeah,
I never said that.
He said he put on pounds and
Yeah, but I never said he needs to be more physical. He's always been physical. I said I want him to be that physical runner when it comes to the fourth quarter, of being able to give him the ball, and we want to get on his back because he's one of the leaders of our football team. And I think he displayed that today, of us being able to just give him the ball. LaQuinn wants the ball every play. Like, he wants to be the wide out, the quarterback, the running back, every play. That's his passion. And we're still just trying to teach him that you're a really good football player, LaQuinn, and we need you all year. You can't get the ball every down. You can't do this every time. Just give us the opportunity to allow you to last throughout the year. And but you see when the fourth quarter came, who we give the football to, right? LaQuinn Allen. He's our guy that's leader of our football team.
We'll go to Samantha in the third row and then Dan in the first row. Samantha right there in that.
Right after the game, you went over to Otto's Army. You were fired up with the crowd. I want to know why it was important to you to go show your support to them and what this win in particular meant to you.
Because they're in college. Like, you're in college, it's 12 o'clock game, you have fun. Like, they deserve that. And I want to make sure they understand that. When I got a chance to go speak to them, I went and seen all the freshmen. And I got a son in college. So just like imagine when I was in college, I never had the chance to be there. I was always playing. And I just want to make sure they understood that I really appreciate them. Like, just all they've been doing as students, and let them know their hard work isn't going unnoticed. Academically, they're doing everything they need to, and then they get to come to the game and support us. And I just want to make sure they knew, like, we appreciate y'all. We heard you guys. Like, it was important. Like, and I'm y'all coach. Like, I'm their coach. It's not just, I just don't only coach the players. Like, I'm their coach. And I was very thankful for them. I'm very happy that they were here. They showed support, and I wanted to make sure they knew, like, because of them, we were able to pull through there.
Dan and then Christian.
Brandon, game for Syracuse, a win over 23rd ranked Georgia Tech in the country. Just bring me into that, because you talked about in the beginning here this team being tough, how important Dart is to you. Now you're 2-0, you got to win over a top 25, and then that moment with your son at the end of the game too. Just what you can say about that.
Well, I was just literally always worried about us. I didn't really pay attention that they was top 25. They told me that this morning, but I was just like, I bet that's cool. Just something else for us to go and get. I was just focused on us. With my son, my oldest son, shot me a text this morning, and he just told me how proud he was of me. And he sent me a lot of stuff that literally that makes me want to cry just thinking about what he said to me. And it was like real. Like, you know, when you have a son, like my oldest son texts me, I mean, like, dang, it was heartfelt. And then to see his little brother there and just to be happy, I was hugging them both, because he playing right now, actually. They started at 2:30. I was just hugging them both, and I was just telling them how much I love them. And, like, I can't wait to get home later. I just can't wait for us to play around later on. And I know it was a lot. It was more of a family thing. It was a lot that we went through. I remember Franny being that age, and I was at Baylor, and we were losing a lot of games. And he was like being bullied in school about stuff, like not really bullied, but just always talked to about it. And I'm happy Brady don't got to go through that. And he just told me how much of a better coach I was, how I'm a good man, and how he doesn't mind sharing his dad with all of these other guys because he know I'm doing it the right way. So when my son said that, it was like, it just meant a lot at the end of the game, to be honest.
Christian, we're going to Aiden.
Fred, congratulations again on the win.
Appreciate that.
A lot of the players in the beginning of the season and in training camp talked about Jeff Nixon's pro-style offense. Why does that style of offense and that system work so well with Syracuse?
Because Syracuse got good football players. We got a lot of good football players, a lot of good kids here, and you can't just get 2 to 3 people the ball. It's a lot of balls. You got to be able to spread the ball around, and he's been in the NFL. He understands what it's like to be able to give the ball to everyone and go in and out of different formations. We don't ever want to have us stuck in one thing, and we have to do that, and that's what we rely on. We don't rely on one guy. We rely on the team, you know, and whatever's rolling, we're going to keep going until you can stop it, and we just like to keep them off balance. He's intelligent. When I was just the corners coach and assistant head coach, he was the offensive coordinator. So there's an older dude that when I was a player, he was coaching against me. He coached our strength coach. He was our strength coach, position coach. So he was like, you know, I've always looked up to Coach Nixon when it comes to it. So when you're able to go get that experience on the team, you know, I asked him a lot of questions. I'm asking Coach Nuns a lot of questions. Coach Mike Johnson. Yeah, I got a lot of experience on that offensive side and defensive side. But, like, you get to ask those dudes, and they all putting their little footprint on the offense. And just try to, I think they're well balanced. And Jeff Nixon's a good dude. And, you know, he's a great wife. You know, he has 3 daughters in college, a son playing here. I mean, dude, just do it the right way. You know what I'm saying? And when guys doing it the right way, I expect God going to keep blessing them, you know.
Hey.
What's up, youngin? How you doing? How old are you? 20? Dang, you about 16. That's pretty cool.
I'd rather be younger. Congrats on the win. On Monday, you talked about that you need to stop the run to win this game. What did you see from your team's improvements in that aspect? And also, what were some of the steps this week that you guys took to get to that role?
Just contact. Me in practice being a maniac, Coach E going crazy. And then the movements that we done when it came to where we put guys at. We came out with a completely new defense, something that we worked on and just went through. And Coach E had the vision, man. Him and Coach Rob and Coach Shafe and Coach Williams, those dudes was just in this one room. And I remember, like, as the end of the week, I didn't want to go in there no more. It just started stinking in the room they was in. They just, like, stayed in there. And they was just barricaded in there, and they just was going through stuff. And, like, Coach, we got them. We're going to do this. We're going to do that. And they had different things for them. I was very thankful that they did that. And we just was hitting, though. You know, it was contact. Dude said he wanted to be physical and tough from 12 to 4. So, like, bet. That's what I'm talking about. Like, we from here. You got Derek Coleman over there. How he play basketball? Physical and tough. So I wasn't going to have him come back, Dwight Freeney come back, and we play soft. So, you know what I'm saying? I get an opportunity. Whatever we do around here, this Syracuse. Like, so all that stuff, they tried to act like who we were, what we're about. We're going to be a physical, tough program, and we're going to put the S back on the map.
Last two before you get to the players, we'll go Jesse and then finish in the second row here. Coach in the back here.
You mentioned a little bit the failed onside kick that Georgia Tech was able to get back. I know special teams struggled at times. Is that kind of the point of emphasis over the next 2 weeks? Is kind of shore that up? And it's a lot. It's a lot we got to fix. There's a lot of things that have to get done. Could be a kid too tired. Got to understand who's on what. Got to be able to have them dig a little bit deeper. You know, where's that drive? Where's that inner? Like, let's go. You know what I'm saying? It's a competitive edge that you got to have at all moments that I don't feel everyone on that team had at that moment to go get it done. You know, you have one job, one mission, and at that moment we didn't get it done. They beat us at that. So we got to go fix that up. But it's a lot. We got to fix up some things on offense. We got to fix some things on defense up. I mean, just all aspects of the game. And it starts with me, though. There's a lot of things I have to go and fix. I felt as though I was a little more composed today. I only snapped probably like 12 times. You know what I'm saying? Like last week it was like 40-something. So I was like 12, so I'm doing better. I did a lot better. But we got to work on everything. We are so far away from where we want to be. You know, like we're an okay team right now compared to where we want to get to. We got a long way to go. We have a lot to work on, a lot to do. So it's a lot that we got to work on for now.
And last question for Coach right here in the second round.
Aaron, I want to ask just how the 2 4th and shorts played out for you. The one on when you ran the jet sweep and converted and got the field goal, and then the second one when they were going forward and Dill crashed through the left guard. Kind of tell me about the calls and kind of how you saw both those plays unfold.
Well, the one when we got it, we just ate the clock up because we didn't get any points or anything off of that one. What Yazzie Haynes, you're saying on that one run that he got, we didn't get anything out of that. If I'm not mistaken, if we did, we might have got 3 points, but I don't think we did. But what Fidel did, it was big because it was a possession that we was able to take from them, and we kept the ball right there. I mean, anytime you get the ball on 4th down when you're going for it, and then you're able to stop him, because when he's going for it, he's saying, I'm tougher than you. I'm about to go for it. And then I'm saying, when we go for it, we're tougher than you. And who won the most 4th down this day? We did, yeah, because he said he wanted to fight from 12 to 4. So that's all I was thinking about from 12 to 4. That's why I was and you know me. So it's a big difference. When you know who I am and you come at me about toughness, like, don't do that. I took this game was very personable. And then you know that I coach with Kirby Smart and Muschamp. So why would we not be a tough physical football team? That's just what they do, and that's what we're about, and that's where I was at. And I did take that very personal. And I want to make sure everyone understands that when you play us, just be quiet. So then that way we're just going to go worry about us throughout the week. Don't give no ammo to me. If you give ammo to me, I'm coming at you full tilt.
All right. Thanks, Coach.
Appreciate y'all. Y'all be safe.
Oh, an applause from the press conference. Oh, okay. It's 4:13, Don. The fight's over. The physicality has ended. The game ended like 45 minutes ago, 50 minutes ago. Fran, we're past 4 now, so he can wind it down. I can't tell if he's fired up by Brent Key, what he said on Tuesday or not yet.
Well, that was the point that I made a little while ago about taking the game personally. And I think that when you hear Fran Brown, you see him come out with his daughter, you hear him talking about his sons, you see how comfortable he is in his own skin.
Yeah.
As soon as he started talking, I thought to myself, back in my old neighborhood, we'd call him a different kind of cat, right? Like, he's just a different kind of dude who's being very authentic, and you got to really appreciate that. That's what makes him a great recruiter, and it's also now starting to translate into him being a great coach. And so what we saw there, and the last thing he said, which I think is really, really important to keep in mind, because he's going to have to monitor this, taking things personally. And he talked about he only lost, what did he say, 12 times this game, and it was 50 times.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. He's much calmer.
He's much calmer. I don't think he was much calmer, but he has to start. That's going to be one of his challenges, is to monitor that as he goes. But you can see a guy who's starting to mature into a pretty good head football coach.
I'm intrigued to see what Stanford's going to do to make it back. They think they're smarter than us. Well, they are Stanford. They might have a point. It is Stanford coming up.
Don't say that.
Yeah.
See, don't say that.
Okay, I'm fired them up. They're Stanford guys. Their brains work pretty good. I don't know. All right, let's hit a break. Your calls when we come back. 315-437-7644. More reaction to what Fran had to say. We're back after this. Q Sports Talk, ESPN Radio. Okay. He is aggressively taking it personally. Usually you see people do it, and then they're like, nah, that's not what it's about. He's like, no, that is what it's about.
He's a different dude. Yeah. He's as long as he's winning, that's going to work.
Fred Key's like, what did I do? Our players up now? Yeah, we can pop them up.
It was rhetorical. It sounds like an interesting question.
Chris? Obviously, in the red zone, you sort of played at that second level a little bit last week. You did a lot more today. When did you start getting the idea that was going to be part of what you guys did on defense? And, how much experience do you have, as a linebacker or working from there?
Coach A just came up with it because we played pretty good in the red zone at defense last week. So it's his mindset, to just be physical in that red zone area or just in the front. So putting me there, just lining me up different places is just hard to scheme for, and it helped other guys free up. So it was a pretty good defense. I really don't have that much experience playing it, but a lot of extra minutes this week, helped out a lot.
But I'm just curious, what were the kind of the schematic differences you guys had, if any, with Marlowe being out, and how you personally had to fill that role?
We played a different scheme. We played more of a 3-down, and I was playing more in the middle, so helping guys line up. Just more violent downhill stuff. It was because Marlowe usually he do that, so we try to get some of that energy back with him being out. So I had the opportunity to do it, and I'd like to thank Coach E for giving me the opportunity to step up and do that.
We're going to Justin in front, and then right behind Carson, and then Mario in the third in the platform.
Kyle, what's it like having so many offensive weapons like Aranda and Trevor? And what have you sort of seen from everybody so far throughout these 2 games?
Yeah, it makes my job a lot easier. When you look across the field and there's mismatches everywhere, I feel like if they're going to try to take away a guy like OG, it's going to free up somebody else and vice versa. So just having that many weapons across the field, being able to rotate them in and out and get fresh bodies in there, it makes my job a lot easier. And then with LeQuint and Will in the backfield too, I feel like they're two really good receiving backs as well. So there's a bunch of weapons, and I feel like for me, like I said, it just makes my life a lot easier.
Fidel, you were getting coached up by Dwight Freeney ahead of the game, that little scrum in the end zone. Just walk us through what was going on there.
He was just giving me some knowledge as a pass rusher. He's one of the greatest to do it. So it was great advice from being coached by him, and he was just giving me a mindset of how to get the offensive tackles out their game and just how to make more plays in the scheme while you're playing it. And I learned a lot from him just in the span of 10 minutes. So it was a great experience.
Mario and then Ashley.
You touched on LeQuint briefly, but how have you seen him take his game to the next level over these first 2 games?
I think he is a complete third down back. I don't think there's a scenario where it's like, maybe we should get LeQuint out of the game. If we pass the ball, he's great running routes and catching the ball. I missed him a few times today. And then I think on top of that, great pass protector as well. Steps up and makes some big blocks. Did that today. And then runs the ball extremely hard. Great vision, great speed, and just a great feel for the game. So I feel like on all 3 levels, he's a complete back.
Kyle, we heard all throughout camp, Coach Fran was talking about Little League Kyle, and I feel like we kind of met him today. Was that in the plan going into this game?
It's more so just, I think, a mindset every single week, just playing free and having fun. And I think it makes my job playing with these guys, it makes it feel like Little League, going out and having fun and just enjoying football, not getting caught up on one mistake and letting that kind of ruin the drive, just having short-term memory and letting it rip out there. So I think that definitely came out today.
Bill and Kyle, you guys came here, Brandon was talking about, what this team could be. You guys knocked off a top 25 ranked team. What does that kind of mean to you and where this team can go in the future?
I feel like to come in to this season, there's a lot of uncertainty. I feel like with first-time head coach coming in, bringing a lot of transfers. I think more than half the team are new guys, and so to have that turnover, there's a lot of uncertainty on what it's going to be, and then to have the second game, first conference game, be against a ranked opponent who got some big wins early on in the year. There's a lot of teams that would back down from that situation, but I feel like Coach Fran didn't change anything throughout the week and just.
All right, you heard the number. Come on out and join us here downtown. We are at Myers Creek, the Inner Harbor, the tap room. Great seeing out here today. You can get the Fran Brown beer. They got a Dart beer. What better way to watch down a Syracuse win today? Brian and Don with you. Let's take a little further dive in here. These Fran Brown post-game press conferences are fascinating affairs because, man, he'll say stuff that other coaches don't say the things he says. I don't know if that's good, bad, or otherwise. It's interesting to watch here too.
That's why I said he's a different kind of cat. He's not playing anything close to the vest. He's giving you
he doesn't
everything.
own a vest.
He doesn't even own a vest. Exactly. He's giving you everything, and he's doing it. I want to pick apart with something that he said to Kyle McCord, and he said it in the press conference, which I think it was important for him to say it because there's been so much pressure. Pressure might be the wrong word, but so much about how Kyle McCord is this team. And he's trying to keep them loose by saying, play Little League football.
Yeah.
Have fun with this. And because there's so much, to your point, I think that's Fran Brown's style. Mm-hmm. I think that's what he looks like in his press conference. He's got his kid on his lap. And
I hope she got a snack. I hope he was hungry.
And exactly, she was hungry.
Yeah.
And so that's his style, and that's how he's going to coach. And he needs a quarterback to come along with that. And I think it's not just a matter of whether or not Kyle McCord's too serious. I think it's alleviating some of the pressure that's on that guy to be this football team. And he said how much it meant for that run. Make that run at the end. Get first down because I'm sure that's a lot of the chatter that he hears during the week.
Man, he's like Kyle McCord. You wish you had more than 1 year of him, but you got strike when the iron is hot, right? You got 1 year. You've got a very manageable schedule. You're 2-0. You got a ranked win. Like why not now, right? You've got it lined up as well as you could in the first-year coach situation.
You've got Kyle McCord, and you've got, to your point about Trevor Pinion and how he's just stepped up and is doing all the things that they want him to do. And there's that safety net of Gatson, and they just have all the weapons at the disposal of Kyle McCord. And I can't emphasize enough how important that offensive line play was today to give Kyle McCord the time to find those weapons.
Yeah, I'd say the best thing we can say about the offensive line through 2 games is we've not talked about them.
That's exactly right.
That is a good thing. The one play from last week. There was the one holding call on Savion last week that kept back the big play. And that's it, right?
And you bring up a very, very good point, is that there was the one holding call. This has been a relatively clean football game these past 2 weeks. And if you go back, and I hate to go back a year, 2 years, whatever, but the amount of the false starts. Oh my goodness, they were just so bad, the false starts.
Procedure.
And that's discipline. So you got to give this coaching staff a tremendous amount of credit with a lot of new players on that offensive side, both sides of the ball, of keeping them disciplined, mistake-free football.
All right, let's get back on time here a little bit. We'll take our last break. Still time for your calls here on our TWITom.com hotline at 315-437-7644. We'll improve the team with Wadham's Enterprises. What to look forward to get better for the Stanford game here in a couple weeks. And get your calls in down here at Myers Creek. We're at the Inner Harbor. We're at the tap room. Back for our last licks after this here on Q Sports Talk at ESPN Radio.
I think dumb and continue to grow, that we're going to win. And I think that's the mindset now. I feel like we have the players to do so. We have the coaches to do so. We have the scheme. and all the hard work that we put in to get to this point, I think has put us in a position to be confident. So I think just continuing that mindset on that it's about us, and it's not about who we play necessarily. It's about putting the best product of Syracuse football on the field.
Last two, we'll start with Dan and finish right here with Brent.
Al, coming to this team from the Big Ten and all the experience that you had on the national stage, I asked you going into the season about your weapons. We've gotten to see your work with them, over 350 yards in the first 2 games each for you, 4 touchdowns in both of those games. Just what you can say about this offense and the guys that you have as weapons in the field.
Yeah, I think a lot of credit goes to Coach Nixon and what he's done to come in and install a completely new offense with a million different plays and formations and motions. Like, it was a lot to learn, but we did a really good job picking that up. And then, like you mentioned, I think the weapons as well. I think you line the receiving core and the running backs and the tight ends up against anybody in the nation, I like us. And I feel like just the amount of work and the practice that we put in, it's starting to show. And like the first touchdown to Treb, we really hadn't thrown that look all week, and he just kind of reacted to it. He was playing soft coverage, and I knew that he was going to kind of bubble out a little bit, and I would just put it on him and let him make a play. Like, things like that come from a lot of preparation and a lot of practice together.
Brent, last question.
One for Kyle from the offensive perspective, one for Fidel from the defensive perspective. What kind of tests did you guys have to pass in a game like this that was kind of up and down and all over the place?
Yeah, I think, one, they're well coached, for sure. I mean, I think that you watch their first 2 games, especially on third down, they throw some really creative looks at you. So being able to stay ahead of the chains, and on third down, I thought we were pretty good today as well. Missed some, but still, for the most part, felt like we moved the ball well on third down. And then I think on top of that, we haven't really been in a game like this yet where we had to play all the way to the end. And last week, we started a little slow, but we finished, and we ended up, having a comfortable lead at the end. But to play in a tight game, especially that last drive, only up 3, and kind of the weight of the game riding on, whether we converted that third down to be in a pressure situation like that was really good.
I would say the test for us was just going against another ACC opponent as a team for the first time all together. And then they said they was going to try to out-physical us. And the D-line wasn't having that. That was the big thing for us this whole week. Nobody's more physical than us. Nobody's going to dominate us on the line of scrimmage. And we got an opportunity to come back and show it, because what happened the first week, we didn't like that. So we was going to come out with our mindset to just come out with our heads on fire.
All right. Thanks, guys.
All right, there we are, Donnie. A little here from a little player. So I think Fidel had his head on fire, not even his hair. It's aggressive. I like his style. That's the SEC. That's SEC. That's SEC football.
SEC football.
Like, we're up
That's
here just
right.
trying to let our hair on fire. College Station, they'll light the whole thing up and get you going. There we go. There we go. Oh, man. These guys got their heads on straight here so far, right? It feels like it.
They do, and that's the mark of good coaching.
Yep. It's fascinating to watch it all play out in real time, to see so much changes. You're like, all right, well, how's this going to be? How's this? What are the players going to do? Are they going to?
And I think that piece about taking things personally, I think that's.
I think they all took it personally. They're like, Fred's taking it personally.
And that's a good thing. It's a good thing that they're paying attention to those things that tick their buttons.
Yeah. I wonder if there's anything that doesn't push Fran's button. I'm intrigued. Like, we found out, like, last week, Ohio's better than Syracuse because they've won 10 games. Okay. Now we got a weird fight with the Georgia Tech head coach. Right. That's got to be like, what just happened? I'm curious. We got 10 more of these to go.
But with AI now, we should just like have every coach just insult Fran Brown on Monday.
Oh man. You're on to something. I think that's actually a good idea.
Yeah, it's a good idea.
What are you doing? I'm winning Syracuse games.
That's right.
You watch. We're going to piss off Fran Brown by the end of the week.
By the end of the week.
W. Here we are indeed. Last chance for a phone call or two. Look like we got one on the line and one more coming in right now at our DWITom.com hotline. Last chance for final thoughts on the game. Then we'll get Don's how he's going to improve the team by next time from Wadham's Enterprises. I believe we got Jim in DeWitt to lead us off. Hey, Jim, welcome in. What you got here today? Nope, we lost Jim. Jim wanted to know about the prevent defense. Jim didn't like the prevent defense. I'll do Jim's call. What do you make of the end? Fran explained it's like, hey, we got a lead. You're working with the field. Like it's kind of what it is.
It's psychological, and Fran said it always happens at the end of the game. A team that's trailing comes back and makes it a close game, at least on paper at the end of the game. And I think coaches get conservative in the last part of the game when there's a big lead, and they think all we have to do is just hold on to it and work the clock. And I think sometimes, depending on the opponent, it doesn't always work out the way you want it to.
Yeah, it got a squirrely. Not because of that, more because of the onside kick, but it got a little squirrely there at the end, but they made it. All right, we got Dom down in Carolina with us. Hey, Dom, what's going on?
Hey, guys, thanks for taking my call.
Absolutely.
So one of the biggest things, I know everyone's going to point to Kyle McCord, but Fadil Diggs moving his position for one game, to me, is just the most selfless thing on a football field I've seen in a very long time. As a defensive end, in order to get to the NFL, which I know he wants to do, it's all about sack numbers and tackles for losses. And in moving to a middle linebacker position, it was just, when I first saw it, I said, he's doing that just to win. And to me, that's just remarkable in today's day and age with athletes and everything. I just thought it was great. To me, that was huge. It was a leadership thing, and it showed a lot to the younger players. This is Syracuse football. You get rid of the I, and it's about team.
Yeah, Tony. I mean, it's a game plan, but it's like, thanks, Dom. Always great to talk to you. Like, he's standing up. He's doing. Yeah. They're like, we don't have Marlo. Let's do something crazy. Like, that's a whole different ball of wax, right? Something we've never seen. Ball of wax. Something we've never seen from Fadil before.
Well, I think you have to go back to his relationship with Elijah Robinson and coming from A&M and coming and knowing that he's going to be trusted to get in position to make plays. And I do think I've said this a couple of times about coaching, how important it is to get players to buy in. We heard Fran Brown talking to Kyle McCord about playing little league kind of football, doing those things that kind of make you look like you're a team player. Kyle McCord would love to stand in the pocket and throw the football from the pocket, be an NFL-type quarterback, and go right to the league doing so. But every now and then, he's going to have to tuck it and run and go win for the football game. So we saw Fadil Diggs do the same thing today, and we saw how much Fran Brown talked about that in postgame. Don't underestimate the importance of him saying that so that Fadil Diggs hears that and knows that he's got to make those kind of sacrifices for the team.
And don't underestimate, NFL scouts aren't dumb. That's right. They can see that also. They can figure those things out. All right, Jim and DeWitt called back in. All right, we do have Jim on the line. Hey, Jim, what's going on? Thanks for calling back.
To the coaching staff, players, and all the people at the game. I mean, the student section was great. I hate the prevent defense. 3 linemen on the defense, they get absolutely wiped out. And once in a while, alter it, and so you can have a 4th lineman, or maybe blitz a linebacker or whatever, and let a first-rate quarterback from Georgia Tech just decide what he wants to do, run or play and everything. It's very disappointing. And the kicking game as well. Block a punt, block an extra point, squib a kickoff. They have a lot of room to grow, but it's a very good team win.
Well, the big thing you just said is they have a lot of room to grow.
I don't know if you ever watched any of the Buffalo Bill games.
Yeah,
of course. Defense, three linemen. Absolutely frustrating to see those 3 guys just absolutely get beat up.
It does certainly change the way it plays out there at the end, right?
Well, 2 things. One is you got a lot of room to grow. It's week 2. You have a bye week. You're 2-0. So you have time to grow. You can be the acorn that becomes the oak. The second thing is, it's one thing if you hate. I know this guy hates the prevent defense.
I think Jim made that very clear.
Most people hate the prevent defense. Yeah. Most people hate that it looks passive. It prevents
you from winning, Tom. That's
and here's the thing. The prevent defense won't get you fired as a coach. You know what will get you fired as a coach? Blitzing a linebacker, letting a guy run free, and the quarterback picks up the hot receiver, and the guy goes 60 yards for a touchdown.
Yeah.
That will get you fired as a coach. The prevent defense won't.
Okay, that's the real answer. Like, we don't want to get fired as a coach. All right, let's improve the team with Wadhams Enterprises. Bye week next week. Is it just a lot of special teams work done here? Or you got something else you got your eye on going forward?
Well, it's a lot of special teams work, and it's also a combination of two things. One is don't lose this momentum. You got a lot of energy now. How do you maintain the energy, but also how do you also jump on your special teams guys? That's going to be the focus. Thank goodness. And Fran Brown, you got to say, head coaches know special teams is on them. It's personnel. It's keeping the guys who aren't starters locked in, dialed into what they have to do. And so Fran Brown knows he's got some work to do on special teams. I'm glad he put it on himself. That takes the pressure off of his assistant coaches and some of the players. This is the perfect time to work on special teams when you have a bye week this early in the season.
He put it on himself in the press conference. I imagine it may end up in other places once they've watched the film.
That's all right. That always happens.
Yeah.
That always happens.
It may direct itself outward here in the coming days. That's improving the team from Wadhams Enterprises. Wadhams improving their team. They have home daily CDLA driving positions available for experienced drivers and also offers CDLA training at no cost with a job waiting upon completion. Call recruiting today at 800-334-1314. 800-334-1314 for Wadhams Enterprises. All right, Donnie, last thoughts here. 31-28. All that said, special teams miscues. When it came down to it, they got the first down. They got the 2 first downs they needed to win the game. Fran Brown's beating a ranked team, and Syracuse is 2-0.
Solid performance on both sides, offense and defense. Obviously, special teams work to go. But you listen to the players in that post-game press conference. Those players are starting to feel confident in one another. Mm-hmm. That's what these early season games mean. A big win over a conference opponent. It's a good start to the season.
All right, we're going to start this now, Fran. We're going to start this now, Don. Fran.
we don't like your haircut.
Yeah, Stanford thinks the tree is better than Otto. Pass it on.
Pass it on.
Oh, they're going to be pissed about that.
Insult Fred Brown. Yeah.
Ooh, Otto. All right, everybody. Cuse wins today. Thanks for coming down with us, joining in down at Myers Creek in the tap room on Q Sports Talk, wherever you are on the radio today. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. Enjoy the off week. We're back with football in a couple weeks. Stanford on a Friday night. I'll talk to you again on Monday right here on Q Sports Talk and ESPN Radio.